Hey everyone, we're going to be talking about the DLC for FF7 Remake, getting into the deep dive of the design. Let's jump into it. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing and making the games that you all love. Here's joining me, your host, Senior Level Designer Max Puss. Absolute pleasure to be here with you, whether it be morning, evening, or night. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I really do appreciate it. I said I hope your loved ones are safe and well. So, what's been happening on my side? Quick little update. I recently was just at a conference, GIC, over in Poland, which was great. I got to meet some of you, and that was amazing. And yeah, I really had a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I wasn't my best in terms of my talk, my performance of it. A little bit of a ring rust, shall we say, with the fact that it's been a while since I've given a presentation. But I did like the topic. I think the topic was good. I think there are just some changes that I personally need to make and just get back into the flow of it again. Once that's all done, boom, we have a winner. So it's just some small elements towards it. But it was good fun, as I said, to meet new people and to be able to socialize, network, because it's been a while since that's really happened.
But first, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than me. What I've done, everyone, and I hope you're excited for this, is I've actually created a level design kind of store. What I've done in this store is put up different kinds of tips and tricks that you can find there, whether that be my actual ebook itself, to that of level design pamphlets focused on different things such as traversal, stealth, breaking into the industry, as well as different talks that I have done which you cannot find anywhere else other than on this store. So if you are looking to improve on your level design skills and processes, then check out the Level Design Store, which will be down in the description below, where there'll be a link to find this. All you need to do is head over to gumroad.com/level design lobby. I hope you like what you see, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you, and now back to the show.
So a great one to be able to do so with all these incredible people as well. Some amazing talks out there, which was great to be able to see and witness too. So again, thank you for those who came over. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to all those lovely people that I got a chance to meet and hang out with as we worked on through that. I'm currently also getting ready to move, not long now, and geez Louise, packing sucks. Just so much. So I need to make sure that I'm finishing up. I've got a few more things to get rid of. Obviously, the PC to be the final thing to pack, and then moving forward with everything. So this is what we're kind of going in the direction of at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to having it all done. I said not much left now, but we'll see what happens in the future. On to the next thing, which is playing video games. Some of you have seen that I have been playing that of Cyberpunk as well, which has been good fun for it, but I've also been playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake DLC. I don't own a PS5, so I picked it up on PC, which was great to play through, and I just want to talk a bit about it, the designs that I've seen, what I liked, what I thought could be improved, these elements. I'm being a huge fan of the series. Now, there is some massive story changes, which I'm sure have been speculated all around. I do want to get a friend on the show before I jump onto those changes, just simply being, I think it's better to have a person to bounce off with, especially with Crisis Core coming out. I think it's this year, just later on around about December, maybe November, so not long now. So I'll be picking up that, but we'll get someone into the show to discuss those big kind of theories, plots, all those elements on top of it. So let's kind of go through the big one already, is who you're playing as Yuffie herself, which for many of you who may not have played the original, she was a side character that you could find, but you could easily mess up the chance to get her on the team, which is quite a difference in terms of that versus now her taking center stage in the DLC. One of the things that I really did enjoy was her weapon, which is the Ninja Star, and having the elements of using that within the level design. At the very, very start of it, you can see that they really are pushing for you to use your Ninja Star, whether that's to knock over certain items, knock down or interact with buttons to trigger some sort of changes in the level design, which I thought was really great. I think the one thing that I would love to have seen is that to continue, right? The fact that you have this unique weapon compared to what Cloud and the others have in contrast is brilliant that they opened up the door for it. Now, I don't know how long they had in terms of dev cycles, so that's always going to be a factor to think about. But I really did enjoy this, that they'd said, hey, this is going to be different to play as, and it is in the combat, but it's also going to be different to use in the traversal. And one thing I always discuss and always try to hammer home when we talk about mechanic design and that in level design is the power of having it in not just that of singularity of, say, combat, but having it use along with that of the abilities in other elements, whether that be puzzle, traversal, all of these. The more that you use that mechanic, the more integral it feels, and also the more weight that comes with it, making it feel far more valuable if you think of that of Mario the Jump, or we constantly talk about it is God of War with Leviathan Axe. That is really powerful in so many different areas of design that it's important for players to be able to use that. So the fact they took that was really smart, but I will say it's a shame that they only really used it for the first quarter, if not less, which was a real shame for that, because I said I thought it was such a smart idea, and when you get to the Shinra building, it would have been interesting to see, especially with her, Yuffie, constantly going on about being the greatest ninja, and this being a tool set, if you will, for her ninja badassery. Having that thrown in more, maybe using it in different situations with AI partners, would have been more impactful. Now, again, I speculate that this DLC didn't have a whole amount of time to be created. The fact there's a lot of reusing of places and assets, I think, shows that. It's smart when they do that. It's not a criticism at all. I think that's part of the reason why it probably wasn't pushed further. Now, again, I absolutely loved that element. And then it goes on to the more hub world kind of design that Final Fantasy VII Remake has a lot of in its worlds. With that, when you start to see these spaces like the slums or Slum 7, Slum 5, you get to see a lot more of the people there, and you get side quests along the way. Now, you get not necessarily side quests, but you get mini games. I've forgotten the mini game, but it's kind of like a chess game. It was used, if I'm remembering correctly, in that of the original. That was a mini game you could play to help at the top of this mountain. I think it's based off that in the original Final Fantasy VII, in using your resources to battle the enemies when Shinra was attacking this base, which I think was Red 13's home village, or it might have been a little bit earlier on that, if I'm remembering things correctly. And you could use that. I did think this minigame was very entertaining. I'm not particularly a player who ventures into or learns much of the minigames, just because I don't find them that engaging. But this one, I think I did all but the final Grandmaster for it. So I was very happy with that. But that you can definitely sink a lot of time into. And this is where I start to think it starts to lose its steam here, sadly, because the fact that the first chapter, shall we say, the opening, is getting into that of the slums, right? And it's very linear, but in a good sense, where you're trying to find your way through. It really uses the mechanics. And then when you get to the hub world, you have a few quests there, but nothing major. And you're seeing as the space that you have already seen as Cloud, and there is some really nice interactions in there, but it's not the memorable part of this at all. I think what I would have been more interested in, and they touch on it, but is the sort of divide between Wu Tai and the Avalanche terrorist organization, as Shinra refers to it as, with the people. Now, obviously, she doesn't want people to know that she's Wu Tai, but seeing that more there, seeing how if she would have caught attention, how the guards would have possibly captured her, playing on this whole element of ninja, really on top of that, I think would have been a way to deepen Yuffie's fantasy in her mind, but also showing how unwelcoming and unrest the civilians are, because it takes place kind of at the start, near the start, where the first couple of bombings have taken place, and then with the slum, it was 7 if I remember correctly, plate falling down as well. So really pushing that further, I think, would have been a fascinating one. Again, as I say, it's all great for me to say this because hindsight's 2020, and we don't know what was happening behind closed doors, right? No one knows. But I'm just talking about ways that could have been an entertaining way to grip this.
At Level Design Lobby, we believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
I think these things would have pushed further. So these are elements I would have liked to have seen in this and make this more memorable, because this one really wasn't that memorable. It was more about, oh, okay, I can play a mini game, get to know the team who then you'll never see again. So that's a real challenge for it on top of that. I think that's the other thing. It's really hard to build a connection with teammates, right? In AI capacity to the player. We talk about, in the original Final Fantasy VII, Aerith's death being such an impactful moment and a memory for a lot of gamers, and the reason was you got to build a relationship with not only Aerith in cutscenes as Cloud, but as the player, as you leveled her up, invested resources, whether that be your time or your gil, into making sure that she was as best equipped as she possibly could be. Well, these ones you might battle in the minigame, but that's about it. And I think that's a real shame and a lost moment. But again, time. I think the story of if you turn the hub world with preparing with them for the players to go, because you rescue one of them, I think that would have been a more impactful one. Again, showing and playing into that ninja fantasy, that if you prep correctly, then you're able to get a smoother mission, right? I think that would have been far more engaging, but playing further into the fantasy, because once you finish your section here, you don't ever come back, and that's a real, again, shame. But also makes it feel, as I said, just not memorable in most ways. Because the next part, which is going to the final third, is the Shinra building itself. And it doesn't feel very ninja when all you do is walk through the front door. The climbing of the stairs as Cloud is more stealthy and more memorable than their entrance. And I would have liked to have seen, again, this playing on this route. You don't necessarily need stealth gameplay, because I don't think that fits in with the core of Final Fantasy. But giving the illusion of stealth, I think, would have worked far more for it, as you just walk through the front door and then it just becomes essentially a combat tower, right, where you are just going up each floor, going down each floor to battle more enemies and more enemies and more enemies. And this is where my biggest criticism of this comes in, is the pacing, right? The pacing of this didn't feel constant all the way through. There were some great moments, some incredible cutscenes, incredible reveals. All that's in there, but I'm talking about the pure pacing. There wasn't much traversal or puzzle. It was just, at one point, it was just like combat. And you can only get away with that so long. We've spoken about pacing a lot on this show as well, and how players need moments of rest to take in what's happened, to make it feel that they are able to assess the situation. Now, you can argue from a contextual point of view, with them being locked in the Shinra Tower, that there's not going to be much chance for the player to catch rest, right? There's not much of areas for the player to get rest when Shinra are alerted to the presence and they're already there, which I think is a fair comment. I just think you could be doing it in a different way, different puzzles. Like the fact we don't really use our ninja star like we did in the first quarter, I think is a real shame, because that would have been a perfect tie-in towards that as well. I think would have been great on top of it. So I think playing around with that would be more useful for it. The other thing I said from the story point of view is the two of the villains we see are two of the main villains from the Dirge of Cerberus game. That was a sequel within the Final Fantasy VII universe that was based on the main character being Vincent Valentine, and also dealing with Dr. Hojo as well. And the fact you see these two here already is head-scratching. Head-scratching not in a bad way, but as in confusing. I'm thinking, oh my god, what are they doing here? How is this going to tie together? I thought that was quite an interesting approach for it as well. So you can see that the timeline / universe of Final Fantasy VII is really getting some huge changes made towards it. I think the boss battle with, I'm forgetting his name, but he's essentially this, lack of a better word, bondaged up suit dude with wings. His battle was a very intense one. I liked that. I died the first time, then upgraded my equipment, and then beat him the second time. It was close though. And what I will say is that fight was fascinating, just from some of the moves he had and timing that. I really did enjoy that. Me and a friend had spoken, and the combat system had been refined a bit, which I think deserves heaps of praise as well. I think the elements on top of that, and figuring out how to use Yuffie was fascinating too, because you have to assess a lot, which is a material you could use with Cloud in the remake in the base game. But Yuffie seems to really benefit from it, especially from her, I can't remember what it's called, when she throws her ninja star, if you press triangle and then square and spam it in that way, the ninja star will stay in the enemy as you can surge through with a certain elemental type. So you can really switch that up to match the enemy that you are facing, versus getting in close, which I don't feel gives you the best strength or the most amount of damage while you're playing. So I really enjoyed the combat tweaks. I thought they worked really well, and I did overall think great job by the team there. I'm trying to think what else from it. I honestly think that's kind of where we will wrap it up, just thinking, because the main thing I'll say is I really like the design of the uniqueness of the weapon. I think that should be integrated more. I think playing around with the hub world and making the player feel more as a ninja versus trying to collect information about a Wu Tai restaurant from her hometown would have been more playing alongside. And again, I don't mean cancel that out. I mean, you could have had both, I think. Leaving a mark with characters as well. And then finally the pacing of the final third to me would have been improved with that as well. Still a solid 7 to 8 out of 10 in my books. I would recommend it. And the ending, where you see Zack, and this is spoilers right here, spoilers. You see Zack at the church in the slums for 7 as he's about to figure out what to say after not seeing Aerith. If you play Crisis Core, the original, something like 2 years plus or something. That was heartbreaking for me to see, because he's trying to figure out the best way while knowing he's hurt her and she's given up on him. And I thought that was, again, chef kiss. That was a masterful part of the story there. As I said, I will get a friend on to discuss this, because I think this needs to... I'm sure there's people bringing out their thoughts as well, but I really want to talk about that, and Crisis Core coming out being one of my favourite games of all time. I cannot wait to see more of that. So I hope that you have enjoyed this, everyone. Take care, and I will catch you all next time. Please do make sure that you support the show. Recommend it to friends. Subscribe on the YouTube or wherever you find it on the podcast. Rate the podcast. 5 stars are much appreciated. If you want to support the show financially, you can through patreon.com and get yourself some incredible rewards as well. Thank you very much. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so via Twitter as well as email, which is leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. For a second, I couldn't even remember my own email. So check that one out. I said @MaxPairs on Twitter, and I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. Thank you very much. Love to hear your thoughts as well in the comments below about what did you think of this? What were your favourite parts? Which parts did you think could be improved? Take care, and I'll catch you all next time.